Some thoughts on the latest developments and news out of the White House. Since the election, Barack Obama has fought for net neutrality, suggested regulating the internet as a public utility. He appears to be taking a stronger immigration stance. He's made his climate change deal with China, and he's talked tough on torture and human rights, especially with his speech in Burma, or as they call it now, Myanmar. All very well and good, and I'm always delighted when the president does the right thing or moves in the right direction rhetorically. But if we celebrate, and I am seeing a lot of celebration out there, let's do it very cautiously. Let's consider net neutrality, for example. The fact is that President Obama appointed the very same head of the FCC, Tom Wheeler, who he now maybe seems to oppose on issues of net neutrality. That shouldn't be entirely a surprise. Tom Wheeler was a telecommunications industry lobbyist, so his position should have been pretty predictable. And of course, President Obama appointed him. Now, I happen to be 1000% with Obama when it comes to both net neutrality and regulating these large internet companies as if they were public utilities. In fact, I wrote a piece for Salon suggesting that very same thing and was treated like a crazy left winger by the crazy right wingers. So I am all behind him on this. Net neutrality is one of the key elements of our personal freedoms in this technological age. I think most progressives are with us on this. But here's something we need to remember. He's probably not doing it because it makes progressives happy. He's probably not doing it because he's a born again lefty. In all likelihood, he's doing this because there are big money interests who want this done too. So, look, the best way to look at it is to consider the study conducted in Princeton by Martin Gillens and Benjamin Page, two political scientists. That's the one who showed us that we're ruled by a tiny and powerful oligarchy. Now, Gillens and Page didn't say that the people never get what they want. They said the people occasionally get what they want if enough of the oligarchy wants it too. Now, consider this news item from the New York Times. After the president made its announcement, the New York Times said shares of Comcast and Time Warner Cable, the company's two largest wired broadband internet providers, fell about 4%. This was on Monday. But the Times also reported that shares of Google, Netflix, and other content providers advanced at the same time. So think about that for a second. What that tells us is that certain corporations lost because of the president's new stance. Certain corporations advanced. Now, I happen to live in California. I happen to get the press releases when the president comes out here on fundraising trips. The two places he comes to a lot on the West Coast, Hollywood and the Silicon Valley. Where are these content providers located? Hollywood and the Silicon Valley. Does the president raise a lot of money for the Democratic Party in California? Yes. Where does he raise it? Hollywood and the Silicon Valley. Now, a new report from Public Citizen tells us that Google, for example, is now the largest corporate lobbying organization in the world. Public Citizen's report says this, and I quote, Google may possess more information about more people than any entity in the history of the world. Its business model and its ability to execute it demonstrate that it will continue to collect personal information about the public at a galloping pace. Now, Public Citizen also reports in a must-read report, I must say, that meanwhile, Google is becoming the most prolific political spender among corporations in the United States while providing less transparency about its activities than many others of its politically active peers. Now, think about that for a second, folks. Google knows everything about you. You're knowing less and less about it, even as it jumps in and interferes with the political process. Now, Public Citizen adds, despite its mantra, don't be evil, Google's ever growing power calls for keeping a close eye on the company, just as it is keeping a close eye on us. Public Citizen reports that Google is the largest lobbying spending corporation in the United States. They report that in 2014, the firm has commissioned a force of more than 100 lobbyists, about 80% of whom are former federal government employees, and some of which, by the way, are very tough right-leaning Republican operatives. Public Citizen adds that these employees do its bidding in Washington, D.C., and adds that Google has deployed agents in numerous states to grease the path for approvals in its groundbreaking technologies and keep regulators at bay. Okay, that's the public citizen report. So, look, yes, Obama's doing a great thing. But why? We need to understand that this is not a sign that democracy is working. This is a sign that we caught a lucky break because there are some corporations who, at this one moment, on this one issue, have interests that may align with ours. So, what's the moral of this story? Number one, let's be grateful as all heck if Obama saves the internet this time around. We want him to do that. But let's not kid ourselves. The oligarchy still runs things, and overthrowing their power is the moral challenge of our time. I'm Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.